All right, guys, we got to talk about this big bombshell regarding sloppy Steve Bannon, because holy cow, is it wild. So take a look at this from Raw Story. Text to reveal Trump's right-hand man promised protection for Epstein. Quote, don't have to worry. Don't have to worry. Steve Bannon, MAGA influencer and former White House chief of staff to President Trump, promised to shield Jeffrey Epstein from prosecution just months before his death in prison. Newly unearthed text messages suggested Monday. The text messages highlighted by author and academic Karen Piper Monday were part of a document dump of 20,000 pages of files from Epstein's estate that were released by the House Oversight Committee last week. Quote, if either one of us in different investigations will need to testify publicly, it would be preferred to do it with two nostrils instead of one, wrote Epstein in a text dated December 5th, 2018 to a person who, while their name was redacted, is believed to be Bannon based on contextual clues. The Guardian and other media outlets have reported. You don't have to worry personally because I'm sending you somewhere beyond extradition, wrote back the responder, believed to be Bannon, less than 2 minutes later. When the aforementioned text messages were exchanged, it had been just over a year since Bannon was forced out of Trump's administration, largely over his frequent clashes with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, as well as a suspicion that he had been the source of several damaging leaks. In separate text message exchange, dated June 28, 2019, just 43 days before Epstein died in prison, the disgraced financier texted the individual believed to be Bannon about their friendship and how he believed it struck fear in Trump. Quote, now you can understand why Trump was up in the middle of the night sweating when he hears you and I are friends, Epstein wrote. Holy shit. Bannon and Epstein had maintained a long relationship over the years, with the recent document release revealing more details about their friendship, including the fact that Bannon had advised Epstein on how to rehabilitate his image in the wake of his 2007 criminal conviction for child prostitution. Bannon had also shot hours of interview material with Epstein that he teased in 2019, but ultimately never released. A photograph of Bannon was also discovered to have been prominently displayed. Jesus. Bannon promised to send Epstein somewhere beyond extradition. So this is one of the things that just came out, is that Sloppy Steve was lying about how close he was with Jeffrey Epstein. And this is a guy also, by the way, remember, he's a known criminal, and Trump pardoned him. He did the whole build the wall scam. They tried to privately crowdfund money to build the border wall, but they just raised the millions and stole it. And so he committed fraud. Trump pardoned him. Him and Trump were con men together, Trump and Bannon. And Bannon befriended Epstein. He pretended like, oh, I did it so I could get like a documentary on him or something. There's reporting that documentary actually doesn't exist at all. But he was trying to explain away why he was so close with this guy. Oh, I was doing a documentary, but he never released it. There is no documentary. It's made up. It's made up. And then when you see how close they are in the text, it is really, really something. So how about this one? Bannon and Epstein seemed very close. Let's go through some of these because these are crazy. Epstein, question mark. Bannon, will call shortly. Epstein, K, didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry. Bannon, unsupported message content. Epstein, continue tomorrow. Focus on Miller with a winky face. So Epstein is saying to Bannon, continue tomorrow, focus on Miller with a winky face. Bannon says, AA. Epstein says, if you and a Miss Miller, in quotes, want some privacy, you can use the island or Palm Beach house anytime. Bannon responds, thanks, brother. Hold up. Who the fuck is Miss Miller? So, some people are questioning, is that Stephen Miller's wife? I don't know. I don't even know if Stephen Miller was that much in the picture back then. I don't know who Miss Miller is, but it almost seems like they're talking in code. Because Miss Miller is in quotation marks. Why? Why is it in quotation marks? That's very weird. If you and a Miss Miller, so is Miss Miller a stand-in for like one of Epstein's girls that he traffics? If you and a Miss Miller want some privacy, you can use the island or Palm Beach home. What is his MO? That shit is all bugged, bro. All the rooms in these houses are bugged. He's offering Bannon to go there with what sounds like one of his girls, and then he'd have fucking blackmail on Bannon. Looks like he's still fucking doing this. Epstein says, you, 12 o'clock high. Me, high noon. Epstein, and the house use invite is sincere and not made often. Bannon, thanks, appreciate that. You love high noon and Grace Kelly was filthy. What? Epstein, yes, if it were today, she would have had an easy pass installed on her thigh. Jesus. Bannon, just a good mainline Catholic schoolgirl. Epstein, brother, you should really take Miss Miller to ranch sometime this summer. Bannon, I'm all in. Then Epstein sends a Daily Mail article, and Bannon says, yep. Epstein says that Trump-Kim movie was more like High at 12 o'clock. Epstein sends a Page 6 article. Rudy Giuliani had an affair with married woman before divorce. Epstein says driving Rudy nuts. Epstein says when you get a chance, chat. And Bannon says, yes, I will call. So they really were close as fuck. The other thing is, at one point, it's not in this exchange, but at one point, Epstein asks Bannon, or Bannon asks Epstein, if the thing is true about E. Jean Carroll, how E. Jean Carroll accused Trump of grape in like a department store changing room. And I forget who asked who, but one person asked and the other person said, yes, it's real. So in other words, Trump did that shit. So just absolutely incredibly disturbing here. They are buddy-buddy. Epstein to Bannon, quote, reminder, money, medicine, law, Jews only. To which Bannon responds, I've only had Jewish doctors and lawyers since leaving the Navy. At least part of the Epstein story is about Jewish supremacy and exceptionalism. All right, so let me read you these. And then I have a video because there's a good documentary that came out on Netflix about the whole Epstein thing. And it came out a while ago, too. And they have a portion on this. They have they do a little segment on this in the documentary talking about how Epstein was genuinely a Jewish supremacist. Like, he believed that he was superior and only, like, Ashkenazi Jews were superior to anybody and everybody. And so that helped, like, he looked at these girls that he was trafficking as, like, basically fucking slave peasants. Like, who are you? You're nothing compared to me. So here, let's read this one here. This is one of the emails, I believe it is. Alternatively, if you take a trip to Palm Beach, all bloods, etc., can be done. My head of Mayo Clinic is a good friend. Reminder, money, medicine, law, Jews only. And then, he responds, this is Bannon responding, I've only had Jewish doctors and lawyers since leaving the Navy. So now, let me show you the part. This is from that documentary that I highly recommend. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch the documentary on Netflix about Jeffrey Epstein, because it is better than you would think, right? And this is how I knew, and many other people knew for a long time about the creepy Epstein stuff, is like, it's all out there in the open. There's been mainstream documentaries that explain what was probably going on with him and how shady his background is. All right, here we go.
I wasn't allowed to go get food. And when I called Ghislaine and asked why I couldn't eat there, she said, it's a Jewish country club. You're not Jewish. They're not going to serve you. This is how this woman spoke to me. Yeah, this is how these people think, Whitney. They, honest to God, think their DNA is better than everybody else's. I swear to you. It was a theme all the time with them. With Eileen Guggenheim, with, Jeffrey Epstein, with Ghislaine. It was a theme. Jeffrey was a lot less horrible than Ghislaine as far as a human being, like just being around, because she was raping just as many children.
So the country club, you weren't allowed to go because it was only for, people of a certain religion and ethnicity. Okay, so that's unfortunate.
I mean, they could cut you down, and it was so morally devastating. You just felt useless as a human being when you were told you're nothing because you're not Jewish, you're stupid, you're useless, a useless white girl, a poor little peasant. Just the things that I was called, I was just like, I believed it, because it was like a cult, the problem. Yeah, you wouldn't believe the way Jeffrey and Ghislaine spoke about African Americans. It was like, it made my skin crawl. Anybody who was not Jewish, and sorry about this, but the way they spoke about them, it was really horrifying. And it showed me a great deal about how these people truly believe that they're chosen to do something here. I don't know. It's unbelievable to me. And it was every one of them, the way they spoke. And one time I heard Isabel say to her mother, Eileen, Mommy, why do you call Maria a nobody? And she said, honey, Isabel, Maria is not a Jew. She is a nobody.
Wow. Well, it is
so you can see why for about 20 years.
That type of stuff I might actually include just because the Maxwell family has
you should include it.
You should include it. What's it called? Chabad. And group openly talks about how only Jews are human and the rest of human beings are like cattle, basically.
So there is, and by the way, this is where you get Zionism from. This is where you get what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza. This is where the genocide comes from. It comes from this ideology, this mindset of supremacy. Supremacy and this idea of like, hey, manifest destiny. We're going to steal your land. It's promised to us in the Bible. We're going to take it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to create a greater Israel. We're going to take all of Gaza. We're going to take all the West Bank. We're going to take parts of Lebanon. We're going to warmonger all over the place and steal as much territory as we fucking want. Then we have support from the Christian Zionists because they're also insane and high on biblical bullshit. And they believe like, of course, Israel needs to take more territories to allow Jesus to come back on a winged horse and kill most of the Jews, right? So Epstein had that ideology, had that mindset. And it also helps explain how he was able to do such horrific and atrocious and disgusting things. They also say, by the way, there's articles about how he had a deformed tiny penis as well. Kind of funny because Hitler had the same thing. That we talked about that the other day. But just absolutely crazy, absolutely wild stuff that we're talking about here. And Steve Bannon is in a very similar situation to Donald Trump, because Trump pretended for so long, I got nothing to do with this guy. I actually broke up with him. We actually hated each other. I don't know what you're talking about. And then all these emails come out. It shows how immensely close he was with Epstein, well beyond the date that he pretended like they broke up. He said they broke up in like 2004. Really? Then why were you at Epstein's house with one of the victims in 2011? Why is it that, according to the emails, some of them imply that Epstein spent Thanksgiving with Trump in 2017? Like, what? So Trump offered Epstein a spot in his White House in the first term, probably because he was trying to buy his silence. Hey, don't say anything about me. Remember, Epstein was leaking things about his relationship with Trump, and then he wound up arrested and dead in federal custody when the government was run by Donald Trump. Okay? It's very clear what's going on here if you follow closely. But so with Trump, his whole lie got blown up. Everybody knows he was best friends with Epstein, as Epstein literally said on a secret audio tape recorded by Michael Wolff. But with Steve Bannon, he's in the same position now, because you became besties with Jeffrey Epstein after Trump was, right? And, it was Bannon who said something like, this is when Trump was running the first time. He said, there's only one person I'm afraid of that can derail this campaign. It's Jeffrey Epstein. So clearly, this is a long-term relationship where Bannon knew of all the dirt that Epstein had on Trump. And so, I don't know, man. You can't lead... Bannon likes to think of himself as leading this, like, fucking populist revolt. You can't lead the populist revolt if Epstein's got dirt on your ass, too, and if you were besties with Epstein, too. And all of these fucking leaks prove that beyond any doubt whatsoever. So, typical bullshit, like, populist right nonsense, where they pretend like they're on the vanguard of changing the system and bringing about the revolution. Meanwhile, they're counter-revolutionaries. You're buddy-buddy with the Mossad blackmailer, right? How are you going to be America first? How are you going to represent this country? How are you going to look out for the American people when Lord only knows the dirt they have on your ass? And you know that the guy you follow is fucking blackmailed and compromised, and he's doing Israel's bidding because they got tapes in a vault in Tel Aviv of him doing ungodly criminal things. So Sloppy Steve, man, caught red-handed here. Red-handed. And his dark past with Epstein has finally come to light. All right, guys, that's the show, y'all. Thank you, as always, for listening. You guys know the drill. Subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. You could also subscribe to Corin's World to come watch live Kyle and Corin episodes on every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You could also support Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. And thank you, of course, to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. We cannot do that, do the show without you. You guys make it work with $2 a month, $5 a month, $7 a month. You guys make it work with the tips you give, with that tip button on YouTube here, because I've never talked to an advertiser ever. I never will. You guys have made that possible, so thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And that's all I got for you guys, man. I love you, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Peace. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.